We're going in.
Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
I can hear you loud and clear, Coach Jay. How are we doing today?
Doing well, doing well. Trying to figure out why we have this choppy intro for the show. The creative team put together such a great intro for it. It's choppy, so I got to figure that out. But doing well otherwise. Doing well otherwise. How are you?
Oh, good. Maybe our intro song has been trading NASDAQ for the choppiness.
Get, getting chopped up in the Nasdaq potentially. That's how my trading day went. Um, but we still left some balance to trade for tomorrow, so that's always good. Uh, Welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. This is your first time here. The goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity. We want to see how we can take advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. This is our first time meeting. I'm Coach Jay, been a Topstep performance coach since June of 2023, trading for the past 13 years in the futures markets for the past 6, and that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep for 2 years plus now. I've been involved in the futures trading industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share some experiences, some knowledge, and hopefully assist you in becoming a better trader.
Some stuff. Let us know how you did in the chat. Were you up on the day, down in the day? Anything that you learned from the day? You fall asleep because the markets were just slow grinding up. How did your day end up? Darth Buddha says, "I need 4 more points to be break even." 4 more points, okay. Logan is up. Shout out to Dan Trader, always first in the chat. Usually first in the chat.
Yeah. 99%.
99% of the time. If there was a trade that I could place, it would be Dan Trader. It's a high probability Dan Trader being first in the chat.
We get a nice solid green from Paul H.
We go.
Hit the like button early.
Hit the like button early.
There you go.
Early. Curtis Toloy, plus 112. JD, long term stuff is green. Day trading red. Content is good. Salil is the last in the chat. Shout out to you, Salil. AB the Don finished green, 7-day streak. Good stuff. Playing for that loss, but keep going. This is not Anne Marie. Anne Marie did take over. We gotta get the thumbnail changed because it does still say Anne Marie. But I know the show looked better last week than it does right now.
Hey.
One of us wasn't here. One of us wasn't here. All right. Got cooked like Costco chicken. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny.
That's a keeper.
Yeah.
$5 keeper.
Let's get into the charts. Nasdaq 100 hits a record high. NDX hit an all-time high. I believe it did. Cash market hit an all-time high. Or setting a new record since February. Excuse me, new record since February. So high for the year, but not new all-time highs, but pretty close to all-time highs. As far as news goes, we had a Powell testimony, had it playing during Topstep TV today. Pretty much a lot of what do you call that, Coach? Grandstanding, asking questions
Yeah.
that Powell can't answer. Did his best. He did what he could.
He's really good at it.
Yeah.
And until you get to a point where they push him, I'm not going to answer that. It's not in my capacity as the Fed chief.
Right.
He did a great job.
Yeah, I thought he did what he could. Just getting their points across, and he's just there taking it. But we did have a planned number out as well. Consumer confidence in at 93. Actual was 99.8. So they were expecting consumers to be very confident. Still pretty confident, but not as much. Anything you have on the news, Coach Paul?
Nothing else. The on again, off again ceasefire, kind of like on again, off again tariffs. I think that's burning the market out, but it completely ignored it, and we had a nice rally.
Yes, we did.
Starting last night, by the way.
Starting last night for sure. All right, let's take a look at the quote board really quick. We have 35 different markets we can trade with Topstep accounts, and today to the downside, natural gas down 3.52%. Crude oil continuing to sell off. We saw a 9% down day in crude yesterday, continuing that sell off down 0.5%. RBOB gasoline futures selling off as well. down 5.18% for our biggest percentage mover to the downside. To the upside, we had the Nasdaq up 1.5%, micro Bitcoin futures up 2.33%, and platinum, our biggest percentage mover to the upside, up 2.59%. To round out our big four, we already talked about crude down 0.511%. The S&P is up 1.09%. Gold down 1.7%, and the Nasdaq up 1.5%. I have a Nasdaq chart up here, Coach Paul. Oh, what did I just press the wrong button?
You had a NASDAQ there.
Still up here, hopefully.
There it is. We're good.
Nasdaq on a daily up here, Coach Paul. What are we looking at?
We're looking at a continuing rally. Just what is it? A couple points away
Yeah,
from all-time highs.
you're less than a daily ATR off an all-time high.
So, I mean, what can you say? We'll go through it a little more on the daily action, but it started early last night and really, but continuing on this run up in a solid formation to keep going. Anything else you see there, Coach?
Oh, this is strong. The daily ATR, check really quick. Daily ATR I have on the Nasdaq is 382 points right now. So we're a little less than a daily. We're a little more than a daily ATR move away, but it almost seems like the inevitable is near. We're pretty close to it. There's a couple of daily candles that we talked about before. Probably the most important, December 18th, was the Fed rate cut. We have closed above 50% of that on this rally back up, and 50% of that was 22,270, we'll call it. So we closed above that, about 200 points above. 800's next target. Obviously, we have some levels in between that we need to get through, but yeah, this is pretty bullish market here. And it feels like we're back to normal, Coach Paul.
Yes,
Where
absolutely.
equities just go up.
They just naturally rise. They're meant to go up, and they're doing their job. And it can be really frustrating if you're still in your mindset trying to get the action from April and February and March, April. As you just said, Coach, back to normal. This is the way it is. One of the things I would warn is if you did really well then and you're struggling now, stop and think about it. You're over trading because you're one of the things that I found in my experience when it gets, I mean, it was a drift up, but if you're used to action and there doesn't have much action as far as volatility, you can tend to over trade.
Yep.
Beware of that. So let's go through what from last night.
So last night's open, we had a pretty big opening range. If you look at the 30-minute, 22,060s up to 22,220 in that first half an hour. Volume left that range pretty early. I know last night in slow markets, Dakota was looking for shorts. And are there going to be shorts in these markets right now? There are. But the same way we were talking about, in March and April, that longs were see money, take money trades, and shorts were something that you could hold on to. It's flipped, right? If you're looking for a short in this market, can you catch, a pretty decent move? Here's a 100-point move to the downside. You can, but if I'm taking a short right now in the equities, if I have any money on the table, I'm taking it. If I'm taking that trade, because we see how resilient these markets are to the upside. On the half an hour, we opened up, Coach Paul, above the 200 moving average, well above it, and yeah.
Well, was interesting last night. That was fueled by the
ceasefire.
I hate to say that word.
The mention of a ceasefire.
All you need is a mention of the ceasefire that set off. Crude broke $3 instantly, and there was big move that held. I mean that So it made today's action seem slow
It
because
did.
most of that came in the first. Let's look at a 5-minute chart. It came quick.
Yeah, that I have. So this red box right here is the first 3-minute range,
Well, there you go.
and
That-
then it just exploded after that. Yeah.
So solid action in the direction of the trend. Um, but let's see what happened from New York Open.
So going into the New York Open, we were up about 1%, right? Which I think you said it makes days like this kind of tough, right? Because did all the action happen overnight? You hear Hogue talk about it. Overnight inventory is long. Is there enough volume for continuation? Do we see that volume reconcile? Do we see that range reconcile? Maybe they sell it off. And then we also have a number and Powell speaking for the first 2 hours of the market. So, yeah, this was a pretty choppy session. Here is the New York session open. We're on a 5-minute chart. We'll stay on a 5-minute for today. Uh, on a 5-minute chart, and I'll make full session VWAP this yellow line, and New York session VWAP the red line, and we stayed in that range for a long time, pretty
Yeah.
much until Powell, about halfway through Powell's speech.
Notice we didn't break the low of the opening range.
Nope.
So the flow was definitely in it, but it's still at that point, it's still up. What was it, up almost a point?
Yep.
It's hard not to want to fade it. But just looking at the flow, this um, this market just gets bought and bought. That's why we have a trend.
Yep.
I hate to sound like a flare for the obvious, but it can be that simple.
Yeah. And equities have done this for how long? How many years now?
Since I had hair.
Yeah,
Um,
this is where it's like it pays to not try to be so smart.
right, executing a plan.
Yep.
Now, we talked earlier about you could sell this. Um, looking for places to sell. I can't define that, but even if you were selling it last night, what did we talk about? You in our mindset, if feel deep down that we have to make money every day to be successful, you're going to get caught.
Yep.
At least I did. Like, okay, well, wasn't it? It's higher price now. Um, it's a better sell. That can catch you in a maelstrom of poor decisions. Um, so understand, or at least realize you're not going to make money every day.
And at the same time, it's not just a blind buy it either. I lost money buying it today, which can happen, right? And if I'm going to lose money today, I would rather lose money buying it today. If you saw the trades that I took on past markets, this is why I say timing and location are extremely important for day traders. I got long initially at 21,311 right here. Looked like a pretty good trade. Had some profit. Had about 20 points in my favor. Went with a 2 ATR stop, something that we measure all the time. And this move right here stopped me out. You heard Coach Paul say the opening range low never got taken out. So when I look at this, I'm like, is it worth the extra 9 points to allow that opening range low to hold? Maybe, but that's a hindsight decision. In real time, I went with 2 ATR stop, and it stopped me out. I ended up taking that trade again, getting back in and recovering some of the losses. But trade location matters as well, right? Where we do, especially if you're trading the Nasdaq, we did have a 65-point pullback from this high. Can you facilitate that 65-point pullback? If you're trading minis, maybe, or sorry, micros, maybe you get a wider stop. But you have to set your stop somewhere. Sometimes it's just going to be where the market is going to trade to. Probably should have went under that opening range, but
Well,
that's neither here nor there. Go ahead, coach.
looking at that too, one, if we can learn
Mhm.
So like in basketball, I teach. I got it from a great coach one time. We're either winning or we're learning. So in reviewing that, I would say this: at VWAP hadn't left the range yet,
Yep.
and adjust from there.
Yeah.
Either if you still want to take the trade, make a smaller position, and then add on if and when VWAP leaves the range.
Agreed. Yeah,
Because
I think the one thing I said when we were on the air, Coach Paul, was I want to be long this market. I don't want to sell it, but we've seen it before where if VWAP doesn't leave the range right away, it's probably a better trade location to buy it below VWAP, right? Because I'm below that average. And I said that on air, and I didn't take the trade. And that was just an example of if I did what I said I was going to do, then I'm in a trend trade for as long as I want to be in a trend trade. But buying it in poor location, maybe preempting a little bit, getting a little excited, and taking the trade before it signaled cost me here. So there's a lesson in that. And I think the first thing I said on the air on Fast Markets this morning was I want to buy this below VWAP. Um, which if I did that, 40-point stop was way out of the way. But here we are. Really nice trend day. Held VWAP from the New York session a couple of times. I think this is where I got back in, was comfortable holding that trade, and then slow grind up. So I think the target was the overnight highs initially, which was at 384. We can see we took that out and started to act as a support. And just remember that if you're in these trades, there's from the time we broke out of that opening range to the high of the day, there's about 140 points. In April, that was a 3-minute candle. Uh, so if you're looking for the same type of profits that you got in extreme volatility, you might have to sit in a trade for a couple hours to get it, which is okay. I actually don't. I was talking to some traders after I got off of Fast Markets, and I didn't see much of a reason to get out of a long. By just taking profits. It was just slow grind up, and that's what the equities do. Anything else you got on the equities, Coach?
yeah, one thing I would um, bring up here is we talk about is there a good place to sell? Now, with that and long experience, when you have a rally like this and you're up 1% coming into the last half an hour,
Yep.
you could I would look to define um, selling that can hold. So how would we do that? Well, every time we get a new high, put a VWAP on it
Hmm.
all the way up when it's starting in the last half an hour, and then look to see if you can get under VWAP or VWAP leaves a range. Um, I don't know, I know this in the trading pit. It was certain days that's what locals would get. There was big discussion: are the locals long or short? Because they were taking the other side.
Okay.
So in this situation, what is this? The market's long coming into the close. Now, if there's a lot of spec buying, which there was good spec buying, think about they're not going to keep that position. They would have to put up margin.
Right. They
So it's
close to get out of there.
something. Yeah, it's something you might want as a trader to look into. Even if you were long, understanding it. I don't. What percentage of the time does it finish on the high tick, or if it keeps making new highs, which one? Almost like the reverse opening range trade.
Yep.
That's something to ponder or look at. Um,
Good call. Good call.
yeah.
Day traders got to go home flat.
Yep.
Day traders got to go home. And if we look at when that sell off, the biggest pullback we had for the day happened in that last hour, right as power hour started. 50-point pullback. And that was it for the day. Traders got to get flat. Uh, a nice trading day, man. Trading day opportunity for some really good trades, mostly to the long side. Got to execute though. Got to execute. Anything else on the Nasdaq, Coach? We can go to the S&P, or we want to go over to crude. Crude and gold.
Let's peruse the S&P.
And give me 1 second. Let me go back to this real quick. Shubham was asking about the volume profiles I had up here. What did you say? You had used flexible volume profile. Can you explain how you define the range of each one? These, I was talking to a friend, and I was just looking at the volume profile for each hour. I don't use these in my own trading, but I was just looking at each one of these as an hour.
I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm actually starting to use that myself. It's a great tool.
for sure.
Um, what was someone had? What Barron uses an 8 moving average. Um, that could be one thing to look at too. A shorter moving average in a day like today. I'm not recommending, but it's something to study if you're looking. When you see a market that's just moved all in one direction, you know that last half an hour there's going to be some adjustment and looking to define it. That might be it too.
Shout out to Baron. Baron's a pretty good
Yeah.
trader. All right. Let's move over to the S&P. Take a look at the daily. Where are we at? Yesterday we held at 200.
Almost to the tick too.
Yep.
Above the 20 yesterday. Onward and upward.
About 2.25% off the all-time high. About 140, 150 points. Again, that could happen. We're at Tuesday. All-time highs by the end of the week. I don't
Oh,
like to prognosticate, and just because I said that, we're probably not going to happen now. I
yeah.
bet Dakota last week that we were going to get it last week, and we didn't. But these markets are resilient, man. I don't see anything holding them back. Of course, that could change with a tweet or a headline. But what brings these markets down at this point?
Hey, Coach, we haven't looked at our old friend Rusty.
Haven't. Take a look. Has some room.
Rusty's catching up. Still not over the 200 moving average.
222, 22, 24, 30 is that 200 moving average on the daily. The Russell closing at 2175.60. Had a pretty good day today as well. The Russell up 1.2%. Coach Paul a couple weeks ago talked about if there was an equity market that needed to play catch up. It was the Russell. I think it's the only one that's still under 200. The Dow today, right at the 200 daily moving average. Uh, so yeah,
Oh, well, let's keep an eye on those two.
keep an eye.
Mark that level.
Hmm. Keep an eye on those two. Anything else you got on the equities, Coach Paul?
That's it for today.
Awesome. Let's go to crude. Crude moved up on the list of importance after a day like yesterday. We saw crude with that 9% down day yesterday, continuing that sell off. The comments from the president today that said China can continue buying oil from Iran. No, he controlled that, but hey, what are you gonna do? Here is last night's
Wow.
open in crude, and it looked like I guess it looked more dramatic. So crude settles a little bit earlier than the close, right? So that 5% down day seems a little bit more dramatic than the price action we had, but crude still selling off.
Well, we talked yesterday a little bit about a controlled. This is kind of a controlled manufactured break.
Yeah,
Yeah. I found it really interesting that in the first few minutes, they pounded crude, drive it, and then which was the range. I
range
mean,
for the day.
with- let's put up a 5 minute.
That was the first 5 minutes.
So if I wanted to really affect the price, and this goes back to my pit trading days, where you want to affect the price, you do it at the where you can do the with the least volume.
Hmm.
You get more bang for your buck. We
Hmm.
used to call it some customers fill it worst can.
Okay,
Like, you wanna mark the board,
interesting.
and,
Why would someone do that?
well, they wanna keep the price of oil down
Price of
by
oil down.
decree.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm over here, I'm not gonna but there was a tweet I'm watching. Someone said, "I'm watching." So this is why I call it manufacturing. Why would you if you had to sell a bunch of crude, why wouldn't you do it
Right,
when there was liquidity? When there's not liquidity and I put a big order in, I'm going to make the market move.
right.
Interestingly, that was the range of the day for all intents and purposes. It really didn't. It was in that, and that was a big. That's a 5 minutes. So that was intentional,
Yeah.
from my experience.
Almost a $3 range.
And if you weren't short, you got short. Now you're stuck.
Yep.
If you were, there was. I mean, off this 5 minute, if you didn't get that, so that's why I said it was kind of intentional. Like here, I dare you to buy it. But right off the bat, like that, we're under the 200 moving average. Look, um, on the daily, we settled it. Now, my feeling is this: if this is contrived, if anything happens that denies crude oil, I, we're leaning at that's heavily leaning one way.
Yeah.
Um,
Boat
so
goes the other way.
I think it's you know there's still a lot of great potential in the crude oil, but without your focus on risk management, you can get wiped out in a hurry.
Sure.
But um, technically, looks like we can go lower tomorrow. Um, but when we're in that situation, if anything happens, if someone blows up an oil refinery, anything, man, right back up. But anything you see in there, Coach?
Today was a tough day to trade crude, I think. If we look at the opening range, we know the guys take the opening range trade every morning. In crude oil, I believe it triggered a long on the 1 minute opening range today. And it was a short lived long in this market that's under heavy sell pressure. We can see where the selling came in. Here is that first minute. And this is a market where over the last 2 days, longs have been see money, take money. But yeah, tough day to trade crude. It's still interesting. Still going to keep it up on this on my screens because it's presenting opportunity. But yeah, some pretty big ranges here. I actually heard D talking about crude oil today, and she says it's a glimpse of of what it can be, of what it used to be. So maybe we
Yeah.
have D trading crude again.
Um, let's go back to that daily because if we do see if this continues, we could go right back to our like by next week we could be trading at the bottom of that range again.
Yep,
And I think that's the objective.
that's what it looks like.
Um, um but the crude was ahead of itself. We're back in the middle of the range. Um, trade accordingly.
Trade accordingly. All right, let's get to some questions. What do you tell yourself when a trade has moved in your favor and approaching your target and you're feeling a lot of emotion to close it early before take profit? Did that today and left money on the table. Salil, how much money did you leave? And your question is, what do you do in that case? I had a trade very similar to that in the NASDAQ today. And I was long. I got long again, right? After I got stopped out, I got long again. My target was uh prior high of day or the overnight high, and I think I took it off maybe 20 points, 30 points before that target. So I left on the table $400 to $600. Am I happy doing that? No. Did I decide to manage my trade a specific way where for me in my own trading, I rarely ever hit a take profit that's left on the chart, right? For me, I'm going to trail the market as it goes in my favor, and that's how I decided to manage trades. In knowing that and getting out of that trade, I have to live with the result of the decisions that I make. So if for whatever reason I decided to trail and take profits and the market continues to go without me, I can't start chasing money that I should have made because I have to be able to trust the decisions that I make. Now, if you don't like the decisions that you can make new ones, but you can't beat yourself up in the moment and say, "Oh, you should have held on to it," because if you should have, you would have. Um, Anytime you go to make a decision in your trading, ask yourself whether or not you're truly accepting the results of that decision. I talked to Dakota. He had a trade in slow markets a couple months ago, and he said, "Hey, I want to move my stop. Is that a bad idea?" I said, "It's a bad idea if you don't agree with the potential results of it. If it's going to stop you out and you're not okay with where you're moving your stop to, don't do it." What would you say to that, Coach Paul?
Um, yeah, that's welcome to the world of trading.
Welcome to trading, right?
This is the eternal question. Um, the way I work with that is if I put my target in and my stop, and we talk about this from trading in the zone. One of the 7 principles of successful traders is predefine your risk and your objective. Accept that, and that's it. It sounds like it's trite, but the more you try to readjust because you don't want to give it's up $200, but you don't want to go back to unchanged. You're creating anxiety. If you're continually missing your target, well, then you have to adjust. It's like timing on a car. Um, and then you can adjust otherwise. But if you keep adjusting every time because you don't want to give away, it's going to be hard to become consistent. Now, my suggestion is, I really believe this is once you have defined your trade and you know your risk and you accept it, you really don't have to watch it. I, I, I just, I do it. The more I watch a trade, the more my anxiety level goes up as well. I'll just cut it off here. And then, all the other things start happening. So if you have an edge, because you really have to have an edge plays out over time. What I would do if you're having trouble holding on, then bring your profit objective down a little bit. All right. And then you can build some confidence that, yeah, this is what I did. And then you can widen it accordingly, not wildly, accordingly. What I'm saying is you just adjust it a little so you get, because then you get confidence and calm in your decisions. I mean, what is the old saying? A watched pot doesn't boil. That's kind of the same thing.
Yep.
Like, oh, come on, because immediately in our subconscious, we want that thing just to get there in a minute or two and then done. And that rarely ever happens. Maybe 1% of the time. So we have to we as traders, you as a trader have to get used to letting it play out. If it's too much, one suggestion is bring your profit objective down a little bit, a couple points, so you can go build up more confidence.
Great answer. Great answer. All right. Want to go to gold or do we want to answer more questions? Your call.
Gold.
Let's go to gold and then we'll get to the rest of the questions. Look at gold on a daily. What have they done, Coach Paul? What have they done? They broke it. The first
They
close. This is the
broke
first
it in the
close we've had
first
under the
close.
50 moving average since the year started.
Yeah, since Coach Paul had hair. No, it was a lot longer.
Pretty much.
But This is a red flag. Remember, we never recovered from that blow off top.
Nope.
Look at the 20-day is getting closer and closer, and it's not reacting right. This on top of missiles flying in the Middle East, it definitely tired. It feels like, the horse that was winning into the final turn and it loses the lead. It's never it kind of that horse is never going to recover. Um, that's what it feels like in gold right now. So technically, we closed first time this year. We also have the 20-day as a possibility of crossing under the 50. In technical terms, that this run up is over. We're not there yet, but we have plenty of signs. So, let's see how the action. Let's mark that 20-day and 50-day, and then go into last night's opening.
$50. Here is last night's open.
Okay.
All right.
Now let's frame out that opening, because this is the common trade. This is liquidation and from my perspective.
Yep.
Now we had crude oil go down $3-4 immediately. Gold sold off. Stocks rallying. This isn't, to me, this is non-random behavior. And look at where we went to and never recovered was that 20-day moving average.
Yep.
We bounced off that 50 the first time, wicked, but look where we went to. With VWAP never turning around. So what I mean by VWAP never turning around, it was flat. So the initial sellers, there's no, I mean, if we think of value, that was a short-term buy, most likely by market makers, had to absorb the initial selling. But there was no follow-through buying. And how do we know that? VWAP went flat. And it stayed flat and was a very small range until, was that midnight or when London came in online, and then we picked up speed to the downside. VWAP leaves the range, and really we had a recovery late. We had a bit of we had a J trade there for a long scalp, or if you could hold on all day, that would be a sure sign to cover.
Yep.
But this just does not look good. It's 4 longs, and we've been talking the last about a week. I've been long, I might lose my patience here.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's been what, almost 60 days since we made that all-time high? 65 days since we made that all-time high.
Yeah.
So,
So let's do a quick trend line analysis from the lows of the year. I think the best way is put it on a line chart. It's easier to because settlement really means something. All right, now there we go. Let's keep that line on there. Now, one thing when I'm looking at line charts, it takes a lot of noise out.
yep.
And we can see clearly we double top, almost a triple top at all time, with double top at all time highs. So we can put a horizontal line there, and let's see what we have. We have a rising wedge. It needs to hold this uptrend line. We could, well, then we have bigger liquidation. Of course, this is still in an uptrend line, but it's being challenged. It's failing at all-time highs. It's finding balance. What do we mean by balance? Buyers and sellers are meeting, and look at the volatility is coming down. Now, what other things? The 50-day moving average we've settled first time this year. What does that mean? Longer term, buyers aren't there. So they're going to feel a lot of pressure. So let's mark this one to watch. Gold.
Looking pretty heavy. All
Yeah,
right.
it really is.
Sean Gonzalez, affiliate program. I think Topstep sunset their affiliate program, but if you do want to get on the show, fill out the casting call. I'll see if I can find the casting call link to put in the chat for you. If you want to come on the show, that would probably be the best way to do it. All right, we got some more questions here. We got one from Kevin. Kevin, we were going back and forth. I have a question for the both of you. I'm having trouble following my strategy when it comes to XFAs. I have no problem passing combines, but XFA, I'm hard headed. So, Coach, you know what questions I already asked Kevin. How many days does it take you to pass a combine? What do you think he said?
2-3 days.
2 to 3 days. I asked, what contract are you trading? What do you think he said?
NASDAQ.
How many contracts do you think Kevin is trading in the 50K combine?
3 minis.
The most you could trade when you start is 2.
Okay.
So
2.
2. All right. So, Kevin, the reason we just did that and why I asked you those questions is because we've seen this exact problem and questioning before. You also said, I know it's probably too big of size, but I trust my strategy. I just tend to feel I need to be in a trade before it happens. Kevin, guess what? Even if your strategy sets up perfectly, there is almost no room for error in a 50K account with 2 minis. You have to be perfect. And Kevin, I just met you. Maybe you've joined before, but you asked this question, so we're going to start from here. You're probably not perfect because many of us aren't, and it's hard to be, right? Especially with trading the Nasdaq. I just told you I lost $800 today in a Nasdaq trade that could have been a winner if I had better trade location. It's extremely hard to be perfect in these markets, and that's almost what you're asking yourself to do with trading that kind of size in a 50K account. Now, if you trust your strategy, trust it enough to say that this is a marathon and you're going to trade it with the proper size over a couple months instead of trying to sprint a marathon. Because you won't have the wild swings. And you might not put up huge P&L numbers in a day that you see on the leaderboard and things like that, but you'll be able to build an account balance over time and be able to accept losses. The reason you can't keep an XFA is because you can't accept a loss at the end of the day. You know how to put on a winning trade clearly because you can pass a combine, even though it's in 2 days, which is usually over leverage, but you're not accepting losses in this entire thing. And that's why you keep blowing them. But it's hard to accept a loss when the loss is 100% of your account. So you don't want to take it, right? If you have a trade that's in a drawdown and you disagree with the trade and it's a reasonable drawdown, you could just get out of the trade and say, hey, I'm going to take another one. But when that drawdown is 90% of your account in one trade, your mind instantly goes to, oh shit, I can't do this. I can't take this. So you can't take it off. You're not even giving yourself a chance to survive. So what I would say is scale down. Right? Don't have to trade small size for your entire trading career, but where you are right now, you probably need to. So I think what you have to do is ask yourself the question, are you willing to do what it takes to trade small size in order to truly give this a chance to work, or are you going to try to keep throwing size at a problem that has destroyed plenty of traders' accounts? What do you got to say, Coach Paul?
Wow, a great explanation, Coach. And this is very common. This is why you learn to trade here.
Hmm.
We've talked before, we're really not traders, we're risk managers.
Yep.
So what what risk are we managing? Our exposure in our account. So a $50,000 combine's $2,000.
Yep.
If you and I really like to hear you're very confident in your strategy.
100%.
So, and I've gone through this. It's called, if you have to margin your account right. What does that mean? You have to size up properly. If you can think about card counters have to be involved in the game. They have a great strategy, but you can't, if they put too much on early, then they can't afford to be around when the cards line up. What do I mean by that? Your strategy, I'm glad it takes its edge is shown over time. If you're over leveraged, then you can't give it. You can't, like Coach said, you can't afford to be wrong. You're not, that edge is gone. So you've passed, you have a strategy that you're comfortable with. Now you have to go and start studying risk management as trade size. Because we've seen this happen. I've done it. Coach Jay has done it. Because really, the thing you have to learn is size management. It's going to catch up to you. It always does. So size down. What is that? So you have more time. You have to build your stake or your account. Then you add size. The reality is it takes a lot longer than we like.
Yep. Time's going to pass either way, though.
Yep. Yeah. It's the only constant we have.
Right.
So, learn from it. You have, like I said, you have positives there. You really have positives there.
Yeah.
I went through that. I'm like, it's all because we love that upside when we're right, but
Oh, yeah.
we're not, we're ignoring when we're wrong. So then you have to, it's like having too much torque in a car. It's, it works great on a straightaway drag race. And then you get on a slippery road in the winter and you can't get anywhere except for into a crash. So maybe the word is torque. So adjust, and I think you'll do fine.
Stuff. We did say yesterday if any of the traders in our, that watch us in our community want to share trades of the day, to either share them in the Coach J Discord or do hashtag at the buzzer on X on Twitter. So I want to share a trade that we have from GDL today. GDL took a short 3 micro gold short from 33.66 with a 3-point stop loss. Was able to move stop to break even pretty quick. Exit on one contract was at 35.90, so almost 30 points on that. Another exit at 23.80, and then final exit at 33.20. So almost 40 points in a gold short this morning.
Nice.
Shout out to you. Pretty tight risk on that trade. Great entry, it looks like, and really nice trade. Also, want to give a shout out to Bink, who joins us all the time. Took first payout today, first payout ever.
Nice.
Bink said, shout out to both of us. helping along your trading journey. But again, we just provide information. It's your job as a trader to implement it. So shout out to you, Bink. Nice trading.
Excellent trading. Good risk management. You leaned, you had a well-defined strategy, and the market worked with it.
Yep.
And and just go to a lesson. You did 3 micros. Was 3 micros in gold?
Yeah, 3 micros.
If you had 3 gold, the bigger contract, you might not have been able to survive that.
Right.
So I just want to go back. That's risk management or sizing properly. But boy, great opportunity, great trade.
Yeah, really good stuff. Really good stuff. All right, Coach Paul. I think we went through all four of the majors. Any other markets you want to talk about? Anything on your scouting report? Any
Yeah, the euro currency.
Take a look at the euro.
I would say the dollar, but we don't trade the dollar index.
All right, here's the euro on the daily. Saw the yen was up pretty big at one point today.
Yeah, that's still the gold.
Oh, my bad. Give me 1 second. All right, we
Turn
should
that
be
upside down. It's the euro.
we should be good now.
Yep, there it is. Had a, this market is trending, and I find it interesting. It's trending up as the gold is starting to trend down. Either way, I don't look at it that way. Um, we're right back at these old highs, and we have momentum. This market has got definitely good potential to continue. Think about one thing I like to look is if we're above all the moving averages on the daily, what's there? It's trending,
Yeah.
and look at this. We're over those multi-year highs.
Mm.
Looks like a good objective to keep going. And I remember this is a daily, and I'm just, to me, this gives me, especially breaking. Look at this all the way up since we got over the 200. We come back to the 50. The 20 still over the 50. It's being bought on dips on a longer term basis. And we're right at those highs where we could just explode higher.
Keep hearing about dollar weakness as well. So
Yeah,
the more
that's
we
a
hear
danger.
that, the more we rally.
And a Canadian dollar is another one.
Yes. Canadian dollar. Maybe has some room to play
Holding it.
catch up.
Yep.
Just hit that 50
Um,
yesterday and bounced off of it. Interesting.
so
Ton
if
of
we just
opportunity out there. Here's the yen.
Here's the yen held at 200, spiked under and had a nice rally. A little different though. It's not. See, in this one we still under the 20 and the 50.
Right. The
So
euro
that
is a lot stronger.
a lot cleaner.
For sure.
So all right.
We got some other questions in the chat. One from Joe. How do you handle this below situation? There is a big 30-minute candle in your favor, and the next candle retraces 100% and takes back everything. I'm quite sure I'm not the only one facing this. Joe, what it sounds like is you may have been looking for a breakout trade in a range bound market. If I knew what time that happened, and if I'm looking at I don't know if it's a bad thing that I just default to the Nasdaq every time someone asks a question about the markets, but I'm assuming that most of our traders trade the Nasdaq. But if you're looking at this 30-minute candle and then it retraced it, the market was in a range, right? And that's what's going to happen in range-bound markets. These first 30-minute candles were all trading pretty much the same prices. So it's maybe adjusting your expectations. We talked about that a little bit before, or yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think it's adjusting your expectations. The market, could I want the market to go make all-time highs? I could, but I don't get to choose how it gets there, unfortunately. So, have reasonable expectations for the outcomes of your trades. ask yourself what you're actually trying to catch out of the day. Am I trying to catch the whole trend? If I am, then I have to probably have a stop that's somewhere outside of the range of what the market said it could trade, and then just let the trade work. Uh, it happens all the time where traders are just like, oh, how did this so and so make $50,000? They were okay with drawdowns, pullbacks in their trades. Um,
Well, here's a look at the volume. So I mean, in this, if you bought it, and because I use a half an hour on my swing trading, but then day trade, I look at a half an hour and then I break it down to a 3 minute. So if it's retracing, it's usually you're probably buying a breakout.
yep.
And this is a I won't use that word. It's tough.
Yeah.
And you just said you have to, you have to be able to withstand drawdown. So maybe it is this. You have to go to the 3 minute after you see that. Attach, see where we are from two perspectives: the daily VWAP, and attach a VWAP to the first 3 minutes of that candle, and see if you can buy a dip into it.
Yep.
I know this because I get heat all the time. As a matter of fact, I don't trust a trade that works right away.
It's funny you say
Something's
that
wrong.
because I had almost 20 points in my favor in that Nasdaq trade that I took this morning, and it took it all back.
And so start looking at a shorter term time frame inside of it, and see where you get a pattern. Like, okay, if I'm breaking it up like Coach Jay does, now I want to buy it. But if this consistently happens, you have to really define that the bigger the time frame, the more risk. So go down to a 3 or a 5 minute and see where we are in that process. Maybe that can help you with your execution, where you either a 50% retracement like Coach Jay likes to look for. Because you're right, it is hard. But because it's a longer time frame, it's a bigger risk. It comes with the territory, it's more exposure. So start, my suggestion is start looking at it that way. Well, because like I go back to, we used to say it a bit, it was like a, a good fill is a bad sign. Like, oh shit. They fill Yeah, they filled me better.
Yeah.
It's like Groucho Marx said that, that I would never join a club that would have me as a member. Like, they'll let you in the club. Watch out. But in all sincerity, go back and look at a shorter time frame and see if you can find a pattern where you can buy the dip inside of that longer term candle.
Stuff. Good stuff. Merlin asked, "How do I trade? How do I usually trade ranging days?" And again, I said it this morning. Not happy how my trading day went today. I said it this morning. If I'm trading, so one, I want to have a general idea of how I want to trade the markets. Came in this morning and said I want to buy it. I expected a range bound market today. All of my buys should have been below VWAP. And that's what I'm looking to do, Merlin. So if it's a range day, I'm looking to try to stay out of the middle so we can see VWAP is this flat red line here. I don't want to take any. I'll put that right back up. Give me 1 second. I don't want to take any trades on this red line if we're still in this range. So here's the opening range. VWAP's flat. I don't want to take any trades on this red line, but I was leaning to the long side today and would have had a great day if any of my longs were below VWAP and ideally at the low of this opening range here. So, but if I'm going to trade it range to range, I saw your buy. Yeah, I wasn't happy. Right, I had the right trade. What good is the right trade if what good is the right pass as a quarterback if you throw it to the other team's hands, right? It's like, no, he was open until he wasn't, right? And it was an interception. So I got to execute a little bit better. Game plan was right, execution was off. And what fixes that execution is better trade location. Buying it under VWAP said I was going to do.
Hmm.
That I was gonna do. Sometimes you gotta listen to yourself. Gotta quiet the noise, listen to yourself.
Exactly.
Quiet the noise and listen to
That
yourself.
noise. So lesson learned.
Absolutely. We learn lessons every day. Every freaking day. All right. We got one more question, Coach Paul, from Paul H. Hit the like. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Question for you both. Do you think it is better to lock up small green days? I tend to get frustrated with small green, but I know when it ain't working to call it a day. Better to
Mm,
what's the alternative? So you said better to lock up small green days as opposed to what is my question. Go
yeah,
ahead, Coach Paul.
you hit it on the head. That's what was spinning in my head.
Yeah.
Um, Small green days or small red days or big green days are acceptable.
Yeah.
Big red days are going to hold you back. So if you had a small green day, and I want to go back to what I've been saying, is not an edge is shown over time. If you have an edge and you have a trading plan, and that edge, some days be small green, some small red, some big green. Know this: if you're following your plan, you have small green day. Okay, that's what it was. But if you didn't have a plan and you had a small green day, what you're really trying to do is make money every day.
Yep.
Warning: you have to, some days you shouldn't even know if I made money or right. If I'm executing, if I have an edge and I'm executing it and it is well managed as far as risk, you start removing yourself from day to day, up and down to execution of a plan that has an edge. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm trying to think where if you hmm, yeah, I had a thought. It's kind of leaving me, but are you ending up yeah, I think that could get in its own topic. Because if you're ending up small green and that's all the market presented to you, then yeah, like you said, Coach Paul, if you're ending up small green, that's all the market presented to you, and you're looking for more, then you're just looking to make money. If you ended up small green and the market presented a perfect setup to you, then you have to execute better. Um, and then at that point, it's not so. Let's say on this day, let's say on a day like today, maybe I didn't end red, but I ended with $200 profit when the market gave me a pretty nice trending trade that I should be a part of. I have to lock it up at this point because then I'm gonna count all the money that I should have made in a setup that was legit. If you're ending with a small green day in a range like this, and this is the range for the day, you did your job. Here, execute better and hold yourself to a standard of executing what you see. But that's all I got. And we are 5 minutes over time. Anything else you got before we go, Coach Paul?
Um, no, one of the things I want to, just one last thing is Paul H put out there. Um, his up days are 1 to 1.5 thousand on a normal green day, and sometimes it's plus 300 to minus 600. DLL is minus 600. So that consistently you have to accept. You might have 3 red days in a row.
Right.
So hope that helps. And we'll talk again tomorrow.
We will talk to everyone again tomorrow. Remember, Coach Hoop is doing a class in Discord in about 10 minutes. Then we have Coach Vince and Coach Ray, 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. Central Time. Flip those. Ray goes first. And then Coach Dakota at 7:30 for Slow Markets on YouTube. And we have Aaron for the London Open, 1:30 a.m. Central Time. D for the Euro Trade at 3:30. Be back for the daytime show tomorrow. I will see everyone for the opening call. Coach Paul, thank you as always. Let's see if this outro runs smoothly. Trade well, everyone. Manage your risk, and we will see you all tomorrow. Bye.
All right.